Should the Pacers have traded Kyrie for George?
Well, this is a fascinating trade, right? Because generally speaking, you win a trade in the NBA if you get the best player. Like, you're going to evaluate this in the context of what is the best player that you wind up with. The idea that the Pacers could get 2 years of Kyrie Irving for the 1 year of Paul George that they were trying to avoid, and they would say no, is a fascinating development. Now, part of that, of course, is maybe you don't want to empower the Cavaliers as they are in your division, they're in your conference, you play them 4 times a year.
Sure.
Like, maybe that's where that ultimately comes from. But Oladipo, you ask right now if the Pacers would give up Oladipo and Sabonis if Kyrie played for another team, if they would trade them to get Kyrie, and they do that in a heartbeat. So I'm shocked that they didn't do it already.
This was one, Kyrie Irving for Sabonis and Oladipo is, to be very clear, one of the worst trades in NBA history. In terms of talent, that is absolutely correct. And I think the regional conflict there, the friction with the Pacers probably plays a role too. But one of the things that I think is interesting about the Pacers right now is that there is an argument that says this was a good idea. And I say that because if you're the Indiana Pacers and you're truly being real with yourself, you're not going to be good for quite a while. And you're not going to be good with Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving comes to the Indiana Pacers, replaces those guys. They're not going to be very good even in that alternative reality. So the question for Kevin Pritchard and for the Pacers is, are they realistic about how bad they are? And is this part of some sort of long-term rebuilding thing? In which case, maybe Oladipo and Sabonis make some sense, but I don't even know if I convince myself.
I was going to say, I know you, and it sounded like you were a half step from advocating one of those processes. It sounds like you're saying you're basically saying, no, do not make a trade for a better player because you're so bad that you need to get Sixers level bad in order to make that happen. Are you going process on me?
If I am running the Indiana Pacers, I am going full on process.
You're going process.
I'm going process because there is, look. I did not invent the term treadmill of mediocrity. I did not. But it is one of my favorite concepts because what it says for those who are uninitiated is that being the 8 seed, the 7 seed, the 6 seed, even the 9 and the 10, that doesn't get you any closer to winning a title than being the worst. And if Kyrie Irving has relative value to 2 guys like that, that's not really helping the mission that I'm on, which is to get good as fast as possible, which means in the short term being as bad as possible.
See, I always understand that. My thing with the process that we have to reevaluate here is, on one hand, we had this process going on and people cheering for that. On the other hand, the Golden State Warriors, who absolutely defy the notion that you have to get as terrible as possible. But I guess the better question you have there, though, I think the one that you raise is, what exactly does Kyrie do if you get him? Right. What level of team does Kyrie Irving make better, right? Like, how much better would he make the Pacers? Because if you get Kyrie out of there for Paul George is an elite level defensive player. Paul George gives you the 3-point shooting on a percentage level on line with what Kyrie Irving gives you. Paul George is unquestionably a better player than Kyrie. What would they be if they had Kyrie, which I think speaks a lot to what exactly is Kyrie and what is anybody actually going to get for Kyrie?
Right. The Kyrie Irving question has to do with whether we believe he can be the best player on a championship team. He cannot. I think that is where reality has sunken in. Paul George might be able to.
Well, let's take it a step below, because there aren't that many players in the league who can be the best player on a championship team.
Okay, let's second best player on a championship team.
Well, not even that. What is the best a team can be with Kyrie Irving as the best player? Like, what is that answer? Because I do think there's a value in success that falls short of championships. Like, sometimes the Wizards had this happen a few years ago, where they had all those young guys. They kept trying to bottom out. They had to stop. They went and got some grown-ups. And now this team may not be a championship contender, but it's a team worth watching. It's a team that's relevant, and it is a reward for the fans. They have a team that they care about to watch. So there are levels of this beyond simply winning a championship. John Wall, the best player on that team, you can get there. Kyrie is the best player on your team. If you put Kyrie out there with Brad Beal and Morris and Otto Porter, how good is that team? I don't have the answer for that question.
And here's the added complication. Kyrie Irving, you may notice that list of 4 teams, Pacers wasn't on it.
Nope.
He's not staying there. You get 2 years of Kyrie Irving. Congratulations. Great.